Call.
Welcome back to Wave 3 Listens. I talked about how exciting the automotive industry is, but also the housing market, the condominium market. There are changes, and we have a project, actually a study that has been done, and it's the first of its kind in America. With me now is the man behind the study. That's Patrick Hohman. He is the founder and instructor at Bellarmine University for the Condominium and Homeowner Association Study Project. It's a mouthful, but it's important if you're in the market or perhaps not, just interested in a study like this. Okay, Patrick, first of all, the reason for the study, a little bit of an overview, if you would, please.
Well, about 72 million Americans live in shared expenses housing. And when you get down to a grassroots level, a lot of that depends on how well it's run, if it's financially sound, on the volunteer board who runs it. And we help to educate that volunteer board about how to run their small city. And because so much home equity leans on that and the harmony of your neighborhood leans on that, that's why we think it's important. And now we're the first center like this, the first study project in the United States right here in Louisville.
See, now, you brought an article in from the Washington Post, and it says, condominiums in crisis. Financial troubles put many communities at risk. Now, see, now, I would think that condominiums and patio homes right now would be on the rise because of, well, the aging baby boomers and people wanting to downsize. That's not true?
That is. But after they get to be about 20 years old, that's where there can be real trouble. You know, the math and science is that the buildings will start to age. And if you haven't set enough money aside, it's almost like an underfunded pension plan. So what we talk about in the classes that I teach is the great importance of something called a reserve study that started by law in California about 30 years ago. It's a law in about 12 states. But it's very important to have a glide path forward so that your place is always solvent and you can resell it and the neighbors are kind to each other.
Oh, there we go. Okay, this makes sense. Now, you're not a realtor, which I like because then I can ask you some very pointed questions. In that, I think the first one I want to ask you is, what are some of the questions you should ask? If you're thinking about moving to a patio home or a condominium community, what are questions you should ask a realtor? Because you're an educator, so educate me in that regard.
Okay. One really good question is to say, if you're looking at a place, if I have a problem with the roof leaking or if the neighbors are too loud, who do I call? Who do I call about that problem? Now, this will tip you off as to whether the association is run exclusively by volunteers, if they have a property management company, which is usually off-site and part-time, or if they have the gold standard, which is full-time on-site manager. But it's important to know because a lot of times in the sales process, it's low maintenance, no maintenance, and you'll love it here, but problems exist. So ask where you would go for if you need a problem solved. The other is, if you don't read the 30 or 40 pages of the master deed, at least know the hot button topics like the pet policies, the parking policies, the rental restrictions. Then that way you won't have a fight down the road and you know ahead of time what is important.
In this study, I'm curious, Patrick, did you study the future of condominium and patio home living, what it looks like? If you were to tell someone, okay, 20 years from now, this will be the market, this is what it will look like. Did you look at that at all?
Yes. And we think that as long as I compare it to a pension plan. You know, a lot of pension plans are underfunded, and because you're living in shared expenses housing, paying for the roof and sometimes the plumbing pipes and other items, you really want to make sure that there's a plan in place. That's so important. It can't be run seat of the pants, and you don't want to buy into a place like that. So look for a reserve study, look for a place that's well managed, and you'll have a safe home into the future.
All right, we've got about a minute left, so my question would be, for folks who are watching now, in the Louisville market, exclusive to Louisville, do you find this is a good condominium patio home market, or is Louisville quite the opposite? Is it not so much?
Well, there's really more on the east and west coast, only because the population is denser, and here there's more single-family homes. But into the future, you know, between 2011 and 2030, 10,000 baby boomers every day in the United States turn 65. And at 10,000 baby boomers a day, where are they going to downsize to live? It probably will be in these places, so there will be more and more and more. People would rather own than rent, so it will only be going up.
Okay, Patrick, for those who would like more information on this study, because so much information, so little time, and I apologize, I think it's fascinating, where would they go to learn more about your study?
Well, There is the Bellarmine website for continuing education. That's bellarmine.edu/CE. Another one is HOAinfo.com and .org. That has little instructional videos. People usually end up flocking out to the real live classes. They like to brainstorm with one another.
Yep, and there's the information right there on your screen. All right, Patrick, thank you so much for the information. You got to come back. We got to talk more about this,
all right,
because I'm getting ready to downsize. All righty. Here